Be
So, good evening and welcome, everyone. It's really, really lovely to see all your gorgeous faces again. And yeah, it's feeling a little bit like too long since we were in the room together for some of us. But anyway, it's really, really good to see you. Thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your busy, busy schedules to be here this evening. So, the question that I wanted to just play around with a little bit this evening was, what has changed for you? I know not everybody on this call was in the room with us at the conference, so if you weren't, that's absolutely fine. But what has changed for you? What have you seen differently since your 3 days in the room? What happened? What have you seen differently? Because I know from some discussions that Beck and I and Lou, who isn't with us this evening at the moment, she may join us in a bit, I'm not sure. But I know that an awful lot has changed for me since those 3 days. I'm seeing a lot of things quite differently. And it's quite interesting, isn't it, after when we come away from these events, whether things that, you know, who we used to be and how we used to be, how they creep back in, and also how some things just look different to us. We've seen something and something just looks different. And it's a fascinating one just to play around with and look at and see. So if anyone has got anything they would like to share, anything they would like to share around that, I would absolutely love to hear it. And as probably most of you know, if you don't say anything, I can talk for England, so it's all good. But I would love to hear from any of you if you have got anything that you would like to share. Gillian.
Yeah, thank you, Denise, because we had a little chat last time we were on, and it really made me see what I was creating and all this noise and urgency and stuff that was going on in my head. And I thought, oh, you idiot, you know all this. You don't at that moment, you know. And it's been lovely because I'm much calmer and much more relaxed about not having to make a decision. The urgency's gone, and I'm sort of falling in love with my life now rather than trying to move it on to the next, or what I perceive to be the next stage, you know, because I don't know. And it's just a lovely feeling. So, yeah, so that's what's happened for me.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to take a minute and kind of just look at how, in one sense, these things don't maybe seem as if they're much, but it's massive when we see these things, isn't it? It's huge when something shifts in that way for us. And it doesn't have to be, it's really fascinating when we see something like that. And even to other people, it may not sound like anything, but the difference it makes moment to moment in our experience is huge. So yeah, thank you. Anne, did you want to share something?
Yes, I'm trying desperately to work out how you put your hand up, but I shall do it before the next one.
You can just go like this because I can see you. I've got everyone on the screen at the moment.
Know how to do it. You must teach me. She's not listening.
Was that me? And my internet just cut out. Was that aimed at me?
No, Helen. Does Helen know how to put your hand up electronically? Yeah, she does.
At the bottom, Anne, it's reactions.
Okay. Oh, under reactions. Okay. Oh, right. Oh,
There
no,
you
that's
go.
thumbs up.
Well, that's a thumbs up. That'll do. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
This is what has changed for Anne since the conference. She's got the confidence to use the reactions on Zoom. This is life-changing, guys. This stuff is life-changing, I'll tell you.
Oh, what do you think about that, Frank? It's quite
Have you never known how to do that? You've been doing these Zooms for how many years, Anne?
because I was a
We're not
teacher. I always put my hand up. Right.
Come on.
Now, this isn't quite the answer to your question, because the conference made me book a one-to-one with you because I still had an issue that I was on my mind. And it was at that one-to-one that I had this insight. So up until then, I thought that this intuition and gut feeling and your wisdom popped up was one thing. And then I thought that this universal energy that you lean back into and sometimes say, help, guide me here or something, was totally separate. So it was quite big for me on that one-to-one with Deb when somehow it came out that it was all one. And in fact, part of the guidance of the universe is the wisdom and intuition and gut feeling popping up. So I don't know how that, I just thought, oh, so it made it simpler for me to understand. So that's what I got slightly subsequent to the conference, as well as just having such a lovely feeling while we were there, which was lovely. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. It's lovely to share that we've got something, because and obviously any of these things that we get for ourselves, I mean, it's just pointing to the fact of insight that we all have the potential to have these shifts. And it is whatever the content of the shift and whatever it means necessarily for us, that's personal to us. But the fact of that shift, that we can have those shifts and see something different that quickly, and the difference that it makes. And one of the reasons that I know this has made a huge difference to you, Anne, is because you can, it's that we've definitely, it's like, oh yeah, something that just something has shifted in that. And it's a similar, with you, Gillian, what you shared. It's like, oh yeah, something went off my mind because I saw something different. So, the sharings and these sorts of things, it just shows we can be stuck in something that looks really difficult, or something that looks all consuming or whatever. And then the fact of insight can just take us to somewhere completely different. It just gives us an entirely different experience of something. So, and very, very much, when we sit in these conversations, when we share these conversations, that to me is what gets opened up within us one way or another. It chips away at these ideas that we hold of ourselves and this universe and how it all works, that can sometimes look quite solid and very real and very true, and as if we are dealing with something very specific. And yet, as they get chipped away, we begin to see real possibility in places that just look like brick walls. We begin to see possibility. And that's what I love about hanging out in this way. So has anyone else got anything that they would like to share? Sue, you'll need to unmute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So I think, I think for the conference, the whole thing about the being and the vibration and all of that, I think that was something that was probably something that was new to me, that whole idea, rather thinking maybe it was more passive in a way, that I was waiting for something to say to me, this is what you should be doing, whereas more as it's where you perhaps point yourself. And I think also maybe seeing things more seeing it like it's not, you've got to be there. You know, it is an ongoing journey, an ongoing deepening. And I think you used a phrase about, you know, it's the next right thing to do, and actually just moving through things one step, and they can be very ordinary things, can't they? I think I listened to your interview you did with the lady on last week or recently, the lady that was worked in the respiratory care, and you know, she talked about serving and how it's just ordinary things. And I guess in a way it's that it is just ordinary. It doesn't have to be something magnificent or you know, and yes, I think it's just that's kind of changed for me, and feeling quite happy and, you know, able to accept that I'm not missing out or I'm not wrong. It's just all part of a deepening experience, really. So
yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. Isn't it interesting, the things that our mind does to us? Oh, you're missing out. There's something you haven't got. There's something you've missed out on that everybody else understands and you don't. And all these kinds of things that our minds are so crazy. It's beautiful. So no, thank you. And one of the things I see around this conversation, like if you look at the people who, the first people that came to talk to and see Sydney Banks, many of those people are still in this conversation and still say they will hear things, you know, in anyone speaking. So you do begin to see that we can deepen our understanding from anywhere. You know, we can hear something. It is in everything and it is everywhere, and we can, that the possibility to see something and to have an insight and to change exists everywhere. So it's really, really beautiful to see that too. See that, yeah, this ability that we have to see something different and see life slightly more lightly, take it a little bit less seriously. I loved how Gillian shared that at the beginning when she was sort of saying, yeah, I'm enjoying what's here now. I'm not kind of trying to rush to somewhere else that's you know, we can often feel, yeah, that where I am now, that's not really the right place. This isn't where I want to be, and this isn't who I am. But this place that I'm going to get to, or this person I'm going to be at some point, that's when I'm going to be happy and everything is all right. And it's just seeing, no, that ability is here now in this moment, and that's the only place we're ever going to find it. And to me, that's what insight showed me. It was like, oh, with absolutely nothing changing and me being in exactly the same place, wearing the same clothes, you know, 1 minute I was, it changed. And it's like, yeah, that's what's available to us. It's always all available in every moment. So that, you know, that's there. So lovely. Thank you. Has anyone else got anything they would like to share? Andrea.
I think, as you know, it was a last minute decision for us to come down. We nearly never made it, but we'd been through such a difficult time. I knew that it was going to be good for us. And it was, we've come back to another difficult situation, but being at the conference and just being in a space where everyone was just so kind and caring and just so friendly, that in itself was enough of a shift for us to come back and deal with the rest of the things that we had to deal with. And I think what you come to realize with the principles is that when you relax and you allow things just to happen, and not to try and control things, not to be ahead of things, not to be beating yourself about past things, but just allowing things to happen in the moment, that things do run more smoothly. And you only get to know that by experience. And we do lose it sometimes. We do get caught up in our thinking. But the good thing with the understanding is that we've got the awareness. Oh, you know, here I go. You get the feedback from the feelings, and you start to get those uncomfortable feelings, and that's just all you need to kind of recalibrate and think. So I think the conference was perfect timing for us, because it was really, we were in a really difficult situation, and it was still in a difficult situation, but in a different sense because the circumstances have changed. But just how we managing ourselves and going about everything it's changing the outcome, if you like. It's making it more easier and smoother. And yeah, I mean, I remember when we came back, because day to day, people are struggling in their own ways, and they're not the nicest in themselves then, are they? You know, so sometimes you're on the brunt end of that. So I think the biggest thing we got from the conference was just the feeling. We took that feeling back with us. And I know that we don't have to be, you know, we don't have to go on those waves with other people. We, you know, we can still be centered ourselves, but we are affected by how other people treat us. There's no doubt about it. And it kind of makes you feel, I don't know, sometimes people can make you feel a bit worthless by the way that they treat you. And I think, you know, one thing is to remember, no, actually, I'm okay just as I am. You know, I don't need outside influences, but it is also so nice to be amongst that lovely, warm, kind, caring environment. So we were really grateful for those 3 days. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. So welcome. And what I love in what you shared is that remembering, yeah, there are other people around us that say things, that do things, that, you know, and maybe sometimes those things aren't what we want those people to be saying and doing and things like that. But it's really, really good to remember and ground yourself and come back to who you are being and how you are showing up. And remember, Beck and I had a really, really beautiful conversation this morning about something that's going on within our family, and I just said, right, I just want to acknowledge that this is happening, to just kind of say it, and come back to being reminded, exactly like you said, that I don't need to be pulled off by this. And one of the things that I really, really saw in that is, not only do I not need to be pulled off in this, my actual job, what I've seen is, if I stand firm in what I know to be true, that is the best way to bring this back. And, you know, somebody was doing something that maybe wasn't the kindest and you know, and poking at me a little bit. And it's like, okay, I can be pulled into that, or I can choose not to be. I can just choose to be love and see, exactly like you said in those words. I know that I am the unkindest when I feel hurt or miserable myself. You know, when I don't feel good, that's when I'm likely to be unkind. So it's like, okay, so this person, although I could tell the story that they are doing this deliberately to upset me or hurt me, no, that's absolutely coming from an upset and hurt in them. And if I stand in my strength, if I stand in what I know to be true, and then this afternoon something really lovely happened. It's like, wow. And I could it happened that quickly, you know, after the conversation with Beck this morning was just like, this is where I'm staying. And Beck and I do this thing, standing for each other. And it was just like, I absolutely want to stand for me staying firm in what I know to be true, however tempting it can be to bitch about people or say anything. It's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. This is where I'm staying. And then to just be, all I'm going to do is show up as love. And then we just had a few minutes of just being love and just kind of, yeah, that's what we're putting out. That's what this is about. That's all I'm going to do. And then this afternoon, bish bash bosh, it's like, yes, this stuff works. So like you say, it really changes the outcomes as well. If you can stay in your knowing. And to me, like you say, 3 days in this, when you bathe in that beautiful feeling with people, there's something for us to come back to. It's like, yeah, I can close my eyes and I can think of the beauty. I can think of that feeling. I can think of those, you know, there are many moments over those 3 days and over other events and over other times. And it's like, I can close my eyes and feel the connection. You know, there are people on this call that I can look at that I remember moments of deep connection with, and just like come back to that's what I'm standing for. And it's beautiful. So thank you. That's really gorgeous. Thank you. And I know that a lot of what you're doing out in the world is amazing. So yeah, stay standing strong in what you know to be true, because it will have a really good impact on everyone involved. So thank you. Angelina.
Hi, Debs and Beck. Hello, everybody. It's an interesting story, or interesting what you've just been talking about. I would like to say first, what has changed for me since the conference. I think my insights are always very incremental. And it could be this time next year when I realize what the changes are. A bit slow off the mark, you know. What I will say is that when Debs asked me to be part of her 60 conversations, I went, yes, please. So that's one thing where when opportunities arise, I don't do the overthinking that I used to do. So thank you for that, Debs. So this weekend, being Easter weekend and being around family, I had a really crappy 24 hours. And what's different for me with this understanding that I didn't have before was, whilst I was having a crappy 24 hours, I knew I was having a crappy 24 hours. And I knew I was being triggered by a member of my family. And in the past, I would react. And it would turn rather ugly. There might be a lot of shouting. And actually, what I didn't realize until I was telling somebody about it today was at one stage yesterday, the person was mean to my son, was mean to my 10-year-old. And I actually got up and walked away. And I came back here. It was an hour drive home. I cried the whole way home. I was so upset. I hated them all. I was never going to visit them again. They were never coming to my house. They're never seeing my children, blah, 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 blah. And even in that, and even that I was saying all that, I knew I was making it all up. So a little bit like Gillian said, there was actually a lightness about my upset, if that in any way does not make sense, but there was. And it was gas because a lot of it is about perceptions. So I questioned the 10-year-old this morning, what did you think of that? And he was like, why are you asking me, Mommy? Because Daddy asked me about the same thing last night. I was like, okay, shit, we're creating a thought storm for him that he didn't have. But I left the room yesterday and I went upstairs and I muttered under my breath and I went to the bedroom and I was and I berated myself for it last night. And then I was like, I must forgive myself. I need to forgive myself that I didn't stand up for my child. And it came to me today. It was like, excuse my language, but the only thing I say is like, for fuck's sake, I walked out of the room. That was my wisdom guiding me. Get out before something detrimental happens and you react in a way that you're going to spend a week apologizing or a month apologizing to other people. And I think sometimes I forget that in the moment, that it's okay to have those moments and it's okay to be upset. We are only human. And I spent a long time in this journey going, oh no, I must be happy and clappy and delighted with the world all of the time. So I think my point is that I wasn't happy and clappy and delighted with the world. And at the same time, I knew that my thinking would move on at some stage. And although I judged myself last night because I was still in shitty thinking, and I judged myself and went, oh, you need to forgive yourself now. You abandoned your son. You ran out on him. Actually, no, I realized today that wisdom was guiding me in the middle of it all and just says, get out of the situation. And it worked perfectly. And I'm here now and we'll see what unfolds.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. No, that's gorgeous. And that's it, isn't it? It's so ordinary and simple. It's just like, yeah. And there definitely is, like I heard in what everybody has described actually, a different seeing, even though circumstances still do what they do. It's almost to me that we begin to slightly rise above those circumstances. We have a different, we can see something slightly. It's like, you know, before we were in those circumstances and they were us and it was happening to us. Well, it's almost like we get a little bit like, oh yeah, those circumstances again, yeah, they're going on, aren't they? And we feel, and it gets, the more out of them, the more that we have that slightly different perspective of them, the more different our experience of them becomes. So yeah, and it's really, and in one sense, that's why I like having these conversations, because we get more of what we look towards, what we acknowledge about ourselves, what we say, oh yeah, I saw that. Whereas very often, I know when we have this idea that, you know, oh, life's a little bit shitty at the moment, and then something good happens, and it's almost like we can brush it under the carpet. Oh, well, yeah, that was just an anomaly because life's rubbish or whatever. Whereas if we actually look at it and go, no, look, I did something different there, and that was really, I did that happened, and that was, we get more of that lightness, we get more of it. Whereas, you know, so that's discussing, you know, what change, even if it is the tiniest little things, the more we look for what change, what has lightened for me, what is slightly different here. If we look for that, we begin to see that, and the more we see that, the more we see that, the more we get of that, the more we get of that. So it's a really good idea to kind of be like, yeah, what did I see that lightened me, that felt better, that was something slightly different for me. So thank you very, very much. I love it. Becca, when people put their hands up and move, they fly all over the screen. It's like, whoa, you
Yeah, when you raise your fake hand, the electronic hand, it
shoves you right up the corner. And then when you put it down, you go straight.
I think it's to get your attention. This is so nice, and it's so nice to see everyone from the conference. It's like, oh, I know that person, I know that person, I know everybody. Even just the names as well, I know them, the people who don't have their camera on. So this is so lovely, and I think this is the only call I've actually been able to make. Is it a post-conference call, or yeah? So yeah, it's the only post-conference call I've been able to make, just because the first time I wasn't getting your emails, and then it was during working hours. But I'm getting your emails now, and I'm here, so it's like really exciting to see everyone. And I started my London WhatsApp group and staying in the conversation calls, which is so cool.
Oh, cool.
And that's really fun. But anyways, my question or statement, where was I? I think it was Angelina who said something, and Andrea as well, and potentially Gillian and Sue. So everybody said something that kind of just like sparked something in me. It's just like, I've been around this conversation for like 5-6 years, and this is my fourth conference that I've been to, and it's like every time I get something out of it. I remember last year in the conference, I was feeling like, yeah, but I know all of this, and I was in a very much an I know this phase. So I didn't really get anything new. I didn't remember coming out of it with this big insight. But this time I was really excited for my family being there. Like I was excited seeing everybody from a year who saw me get engaged the year before. So like there wasn't really much on it, other than the fact it wasn't really 3 principles that my mind was focused on. It was more me. I was just focused on me. So then whatever just changed me and made me realize that I wasn't being me. Like my whole story, my whole sort of internal narrative, if you like, from being a teenager up until adulthood, has always been that I wasn't being myself. There was always this, you know, what does the world need me to be? You want me to be quiet? Okay, I'll be quiet. You want me to be loud? Okay, I'll be loud. You want me to be this? You want me to be that? Okay, I'll be like, I'll fit into your box of who and what you want me to be, and that's who I will be. And then coming out of the conference, I just realized, oh my days, I can just be myself. I'm not annoying. I have 15 people in my WhatsApp group. Like if I take away the 2 that are family, I have 13 people in my WhatsApp group. You know, it's like there are people who want to listen to me, and I can't be anyone but me. And that's who I was supposed to be. So it's just like, and that's who everybody else was supposed to be. It's like I hear people say something, oh, I'm annoying, or I'm this. It's like, no, you're not. You're really not. I've seen something and I'm not annoying, so you're not annoying. And like, there will be like people who don't particularly like me, or I'm not their cup of tea. Because I know I'm very eccentric and loud and bubbly and bouncy, and then I could be the complete opposite. I'm very, very shy. I think the first time I said that I was shy to Deb and Beck, they were both like, what? You're not shy. But there are situations and places and circumstances where I'm in that I'm just, no words will come out of my mouth, just completely. So it's like all of that is fun, whether I'm being shy Becca or, you know, excited Becca who's like there and doesn't mind to chat and just say anything and just be me, and everything in between. And set up a WhatsApp group, and you know, set up staying in the conversation Zoom calls, and just anything that it is that I'm doing now. I know I can do it from a place of authenticity, not from a place of what would Deb say, what would Beck say, what would they do, what would they, am I getting this right, do they understand me, do they like me, do they think I'm being annoying? Like, even now talking on these calls, like Deb says that she can talk for England, I could give her a run for her money. I would always be hesitant, like, should I ask a question? I always ask a question on these calls. I always make a statement. I always talk. I always feel the need to talk. What if I just don't talk this time? Because maybe they don't want to hear what I have to say. And this time it was just like, no, I really want to say something. I'm not entirely sure what, but I really want to say something. So I will. And it was just that, like, that thinking isn't there today. And when it is there, it's like, well, okay, well, I'm just going to say it anyways, or I'm going to play the game of, can I just listen? Can I just sit and listen to the call and not talk? And both of those things are okay. So yeah, so that's what I've gotten from the conference. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Becca. And we have had the pleasure of a couple of calls since the conference, and I've seen a huge shift in you. There has definitely been something huge shifted in you since, and it is the whole, I can see that you have allowed yourself to be more of you. And it's one of those things I can remember when Lucy was drinking. One of the reasons that she had a drink, and one of the reasons that she shared with us that she used to drink, was because she thought, well, people like me more when I've had a drink. Like, when I'm just being me, I'm not good enough and people don't like me. But when I've had a drink, people like me and you know, much, much more. And it's like, no, like, we would be, the only reason we would be there and sitting with her when she was drunk is because we were like scared of what she might do, or scared of something. We wouldn't want to be around that energy. And it's like, no, when you are just genuinely being Lucy, you are really, really lovely. But when you're when you think that you are not good enough, so you try to be something else, that's when you're not quite so attractive. That's when your energy isn't quite so attractive. So when we have all this thinking about, what does this person think of me, and what are they thinking, and when we are policing what we say and controlling and being in those kinds of ways, that's when we don't come across so well. But when it's just like, do you know what, I'm just going to do what occurs to me and what comes through me, that's definitely, and I have really seen something in that make a difference to you and who you're being. The whole, yeah, not showing up with, and I can absolutely relate to it, you know, on other calls, looking at who's on the calls and like, oh, okay, so I want that person to like me. So what do they think? So I'll make sure that what I say fits in with how they would say it, or whatever. And so you haven't got that, you know. Angelina spoke about seeing that wisdom just guided her to do that. And it's almost like when we're thick in our heads like that, it's really, really difficult to see that guidance and listen to it and do it, and we don't show up so beautifully and authentically. So yeah, thank you, that's a really gorgeous share. Thank you very, very much.
Sorry, I got really excited and put her hand up.
Yes.
You did it, well done. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Becca. Anne.
You see how you do keep on growing. Have I had? Well,
we all do, Anne. We all do. That's the beauty.
well, there's just a couple of things following on what Angelina and Becca said, because it did remind me of what I did get from the conference, and I think I fed it back to my friend Helen, because what I noticed so differently this time was the people who were speaking generally were much, much more open and authentic. So with Angelina talking about your children, and Beck talking about how as a sister you looked over at Lucy's situation. But particularly with the two main speakers, Rani and Denise, who I, like Becca, have been to all the conferences. And my perception of them at first was that we heard quite a bit about what the three principles were. And what we heard this time was so authentic. In fact, Denise and Rani, for the first time ever in front of, when they were speaking in front of me, both got choked, and there were tears in Rani's eyes when she talked about being bullied by her siblings, or the nickname Elephant. And with Denise, she explained how, although she still loved her ex-husband and he lived 100 yards up the road, she still, he was with another girlfriend, and she got used to it, and she got a bit choked. And Becca, particularly when you were talking about, looking at Lou and Angelina with her children. So I came back and I thought, gosh, what happened to me was I therefore felt that connection so much more deeply than ever before. So it was just the moral for me afterwards was to be more open and speak your truth. And like Becca said, be more me and not worry about what people say, which is what I used to do. So that was huge, that the more authentic we can be, the more we connect to people. So that's the first thing that was really profound for me. And the second thing was following what Angelina said about your Easter experience, because my dear friend Helen WhatsApped me and said, hope you're having a lovely Easter. I thought, oh God, there's this expectation, not just from Helen, but Easter holidays. Well, for the last 2 Easters, I was fortunate to have a lovely holiday home, and I invited all the 12 family to spend Easter and spent time doing Easter hunts with the children and everything. But then I've sold the holiday home. So because I didn't have the home, the family didn't come. So there was just me and my husband, who doesn't talk much. And by sort of on Sunday, Easter Sunday, I thought, oh, perhaps the 2 older children will ring and say, like they did on Mother's Day, Happy Easter. But then, you see, Helen would tell me, whenever you have an expectation, then you suffer. So blow me, at 12 o'clock, I picked up the phone and spoke to my son. And he was saying, oh, I forgot to do the shopping. I'm on the way to the supermarket and I'm quite stressed. So I put the phone down, and then I phoned my daughter, and she said, oh, I'm overwhelmed with all this holiday club and stuff. And I put down the phone. I felt unloved and rejected. And I cried like Angelina. Well, I think you said you cried. I felt really emotional and lonely. But then I remembered that people's reality is different. And of course, my son with his 2 children was very busy on Easter, and my daughter with her 2 children was very busy. And I then reminded myself that just because I didn't have a phone call, it didn't mean they didn't love me. And it was really quite profound, that. And secondly, I remembered, like Helen often reminds me, that whenever we expect something, and it's not delivered, we suffer. And of course, I realized that those two things were going on. So that was really sort of like Angelina, a crappy Easter, but I realized how I'd grown with that crappy emotional human experience. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you. And really coming back to that, I think what happens when we are authentic and we genuinely speak our truth and about what is going on for us, what we see is pretty much everyone in the room, even though it can maybe be different circumstances and different things, people sort of say, yeah, and me. You know, it's like when we say, oh, when Andrea said, yes, we came back to a difficult situation, and then Angelina shared, I had a difficult Easter, and I had a difficult Easter, and, you know, Gillian was, I had this situation that I was worrying about, and all of these things, and Becca's there thinking, oh yeah, I can't really be me. It's this whole, we're all in the same boat. This is the point. And I think very, very often we can put people on pedestals, or we can believe that we judge ourselves. I know, again, when you look at different realities, we judge what we know is going on inside ourselves with the tiny little bit that we can see going on outside of someone else. You know, it's a little bit like, and so we think, oh, you know, that person doesn't have that thought, or that never occurs to that person, or that never happens to that person. And it's just seeing, yeah, we all, you know, we're all in this together, and me, and me, and me. Again, you know, everything anyone shares, it's like in some version, I know what you're talking about and I can relate to you, because yes, and me. You know, my family sometimes say things that feel really, really hurtful, and it really feels like they've done something that they shouldn't, or whatever, or, you know, I face a difficult situation, a difficult decision that appears to be a difficult decision or something. It's like, and me, and me, and me. And a part of this, and a part of that, a part of coming together in the way we come together, whether it is physically at the conference, which is a beautiful thing to do, or whether it is on these calls, is realizing, yeah, we are all in this together, we're all experiencing, but coming together like this and looking towards the beautiful feeling of when we come together like this, when we all lift each other up. And we also see, do you know what? Also, we can see possibility, we can see that changes, we can see love, we can see connection, we can see a better way to, we see ways out, we see all sorts. And so sharing that, it's like we can all say that too. Yeah, and me, I had this terrible thing I was going through, and now I feel better. Yeah, and me, and me, and me. And that can pull us all up, can't it? We can see, yeah, we can all sit together in that really, really beautiful feeling. So yeah, thank you. Becca.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to say something Anne said about, and I guess Angelina also mentioning Easter. And I have this idea about Easter and Christmas and birthdays, like they have this importance in my life anyways, that, you know, on this day, because it's Easter or because it's Christmas or because it's my birthday, it has to go 100%. We're not allowed to be human, basically. Everything has to go perfect. Everybody has to be happy. Nobody's allowed to be annoyed. Nobody's allowed to have any arguments. Just for this one day, don't be human. And we have 365 days in a year, and I think this year it's 366 because it's a leap year. Why does it have to be Easter that your kids call you, your parents call you? Because I can totally feel like that. Like I live with my fiance, but occasionally she'll go to her parents' house, and I'll be here on my own. So I love being on my own. But then I have this story in my head that I'm like, I'm by myself. I don't want to be by myself. I'll go to my mum's house. I go to my mum's house, and it's like, oh, they're busy watching TV. They don't need me here. They don't want me here. I should have just stayed at home. And obviously that's not true. It's just all these stories that we create that Easter has to be about family and being together, but what about just a random Sunday, or the random bank holiday that's in August? Why does it have to be these things? I think it's Lizzie Page in her Christmas Advent, that she said she had an insight on Christmas. Everyone's like, it's the countdown to Christmas. Like, Christmas needs to be perfect, and Christmas dinner and the vegetables and the chicken, this and that. It's like, oh, it's just another day. We've built this big importance on this day when really it's just another day. Cook dinner, let's have a meal and enjoy our time together. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
And we do that all over the place, don't we, with all sorts of things. It's this has got to be like this, and it is that control, isn't it? And I feel the more that our levels of consciousness seem to slip down, the more we have this need to control. It really seems to raise its head as we get lower. It's like, I need to control that, I need to control that. And then as we feel better, we don't feel that need to hold so tight and to control. It's really fascinating, isn't it? How you can watch that in yourself, watch yourself go low and think, I need to control it, I need to control it. And as we start to feel better, we let go the more and more and more as we feel better. So it's really beautiful to allow ourselves that space to feel better, to come up and to feel better. It's really lovely. So there's not that much time left, but I wanted to share something that I saw that has changed, something that has changed for me since the conference. And I had a realization that my whole life, in one way or another, I had been taught about manipulation. And not really on purpose. It wasn't necessarily on purpose, but like from a very young age, as most of you know and know our story, we had a religious upbringing. And it wasn't even overtly said in the religion. I can't speak for other religions because I don't know how they work or what they do. But there was definitely this idea that the church that we attended and the religion that we were in had the truth. And that meant nobody else did, because we did. And they saw something different, so they were wrong and we were right. So there was this idea, we're right and all these poor people are wrong. And so that either made them a little bit stupid or just wrong or whatever, so there was this idea. So and it always felt like there was this, we were trying to save people, or there was always an agenda, there was always a reason, there was always an agenda. And then I kind of, without realizing it, I saw, when I was a real people pleaser, and again with the control, there was always an agenda there. There was always some kind of manipulation going on from me. There was always something I wanted. There was always some kind of manipulation. And really, really, really seeing that it was the manipulation of trying so hard to get what I wanted that was actually stopping me get what I wanted. And that was like this morning in what happened. And it really fits in with a fair few of the things that have been shared today. It's like this idea that if we show up in a certain way with a reason behind what we are doing, with a manipulative reason, without even realizing that's what we're doing, when we try to change something, like Becca, when you were talking earlier, and it was like, oh yeah, I have to be more like this person, or I have to be, I have to be careful what I'm going to say, or I have to I don't know, I have to show up differently. I can't just be me. There's some kind of, it's because I want you to like me, or it's because I want you to do something. I want to have something from you, so I am going to show up in a certain way to get that. And just realizing that whole realization, I didn't even know that any of that remained in me at all until I really saw it, sort of since the conference and the run up to the conference, really seeing the idea of even putting on the conference. It's like, just put on the conference and invite people, tell people about it, but with no agenda on whether people come or not. And I don't think that had ever occurred to me. There'd always been, oh no, you're doing it so people will come. Well, no, just do it. Just do it and tell them about it. And it's really, it's fascinating that the actions that you take and what you do can pretty much be the same, but we feel that manipulation, whether we mean to or not. If there's any kind of thing there, we feel each other's energy. And what I saw this morning when I shared about that thing happening within our family, the piece that I got to was, I don't have to save this person. I don't have to change this person. I don't have to have this person say anything or show up differently. There was definitely, this person had got a lot of upset, and always before it would be, well, if I do this, or if I text this person, or if I do this, you know, I can help, or I can do something. It's like, nope, 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 just love. That's it. Just love, with nothing. They don't have to be different. They don't have to, nothing has to change. You just clean. That was the words I was using this morning with Beck. I just want to be clean from any agenda of needing anything. I just want to show up as love. And how quickly that situation turned around when I genuinely, like when Anne, when you spoke about these expectations, and we sort of said, yeah, at this particular time, I'm expecting you to do this or wanting to do this. And when it's just, if we can just get to a place of, and I really see that it starts with very much a deep self-acceptance. I love self-love and self-acceptance. I'm accepting and loving myself exactly as I am. And then just showing up cleanly for other people. Because when I can accept who I am, I don't have to speak differently so that people like me. I don't have to use the right words. I don't have to show up in the right, I don't have to think, right, okay, who am I going to, you know, how am I going to make myself be here so that people think this or think that? I can just show up cleanly with whatever arises and just love each and every one of you, with no matter what opinion you have on what you do next. And it is so clean when we show up like that. And it is definitely, it's an energetic shift. I can really feel that. And it's like, wow, I didn't even realize that. A little bit like Gillian when she was sharing at the beginning. It's like, I know, you know, I've been around this, and I hadn't realized how much of that was still there. And I know that it's been dropping away recently. And then, and since the conference, it was like, wow, it was like huge bits of that. And it's almost as the change happens, we see it then. It's like when it changes, it's like, wow, I hadn't seen that. But just seeing these huge things drop away of, yeah, in a well-meaning way. I had pretty much in everything, it's like, okay, so do it like this, so that. And it's like, no, just do it in a way that makes sense. No, so that. Absolutely no, so that. And I know one of the things since the conference, we have looked at a lot of the things that we do within our business and just been like, how can we be even more in service with no, so that? How can we just show up even more in service? And let's not add a so that. Let's just do that. Thank you very, very much, everybody who has contributed to this evening. Thank you, everybody who is here. Thank you. That was really, really beautiful. Thank you so much. It was so lovely to see all your faces and everything. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.